All right, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is New York City voters on the 2024 election, immigration, and the migrant crisis. Let's check it out.
Our series, Camping Promises. Yesterday we touched on the economy, but tonight we are going to talk about where the candidates stand on immigration.
All right, Fox 5 Sharon Crowley here once again. She talked with voters to get the pulse of the people on these important issues. Sharon.
Well, as you guys know, we're in a city of immigrants, right? So, of course, it's easy to understand why New Yorkers have plenty of opinions about immigration. Voters sounding off to me about what's happening at the border and about asylum seekers living here now. Now, while these voters held pretty different opinions, they all agreed on one thing. They want the next president to do something to improve things when it comes to immigration.
All right, so we do know, factually at least, based off of what we've encountered, let's say over the last decade, one president is completely fine with basically open borders, or has been consistently until they were basically forced to do something, for the upcoming election to make it seem like they're actually trying to do something. And the other one is actually saying that they're going to just blatantly do something. Now, in New York City, obviously this is a blue stronghold, right? They have been voting one very specific way for a really long time, and I don't really see that changing. Or how about this? I didn't really see that changing up until very recently, meaning these last couple of years, right? With the influx of migrants choosing to choose New York because New York was a sanctuary city, or is still, for the most part, a sanctuary city, even though the mayor is now saying otherwise, right? So of course, if finally the people of New York City are starting to actually experience what people, on the southern border have been experiencing for many, many decades, guys, of course they would not change their tune. So I do expect to see a slight surge. So I think they're going to completely flip red. No, they're not, right? But do I think that they're going to be able to pull out some lobbyists? Republicans are going to pull some votes out of New York City, more than probably ever because of what they've been experiencing. I agree. Right? I think that's just the overall reality of New York City at this specific time.
Everybody deserves a shot.
It's never been like this. You see, homeless people and migrants and people getting robbed and pushed and walk down the street, they're grabbing pocketbooks.
They have to come up with an immigration deal and reasonable ways for people to stay here legally. There's so many wonderful immigrants here who have contributed so much.
They come here, they have nothing, and they're given a place to live, a phone,
Money.
and money.
It's an issue for me because I'm not from here. I'm from Barbados, so it means something to me.
Immigration is on the ballot this year. Voters in both parties want to know what candidates plan to do about it. Concerns heightened by a surge in border crossings and the busing of migrants to places like New York City.
And we have seen immigration rise as a concern nationally, mostly bubbling up from Republicans. And it really peaked after December when the migrant situation at the border hit record levels. But it's continued to be high. And so we continue to see Republicans particularly concerned about the issue, more so than even in 2016, when in that election Donald Trump made immigration an issue.
Lydia Saad is the director of U.S. social research at the Gallup poll.
I think they support immigration. They think immigration has been a good thing for the country. They don't support illegal immigration. They want to see people come into the country through legal means.
And guys, that is legitimately the rule of law. Now, see, we all, for the most part, have signed, theoretically, let's say, or metaphorically, the social contract, okay? You are not to trespass. You are not to break laws, right? And the issue here is that one of the women said a couple of minutes ago here, she said that, the overwhelming majority of them are not doing anything terrible. You're right, they're not. I would say high 90s, mid 90s, let's say, are in fact here just because they were going through it pretty terribly in their country. The reality, right? Then there's a small segment of them, right, that are coming here, and they are here joining all types of fraternities, illicit street fraternities, let's say, Tren de Aragua specifically, MS-13, et cetera, right? Now these organizations are becoming larger. Why are they becoming larger? Because of the migrant crisis. So the average American wants things to be done legally, right? Like the first act that you're committing in the United States of America is trespassing. That's the first act, and for the most part, Americans will be arrested pretty much consistently if you trespass on someone's land or their property, etc., or any of these things, guys. Right? That's just a reality. I would personally say, at least. And I think that's the issue: the rule of law. The rule of law is being broken, factually. We can't argue that. Right? I have no problem with the concepts of immigration at all, guys. None. I have immigrated into multiple countries on multiple continents. Right? My wife is from Spain. We have immigrated her specifically, completely, 100% legally. Right? That's the reality, I'd say. I mean, it's the issue of trespassing. That's the real issue, I'd say, personally. But either way.
But once they get here, that's where you find more partisan split in terms of Republicans in favor of sending people back, Democrats and independents less so.
Now the border is 25 times worse than it was in 2016. Now the border is not even believable what's happening. And I want to be known as your border president. I'm going to be known as your border president.
Former President Donald Trump made illegal immigration central to his first run for office in 2016. If elected again, Trump promises to seal the border, start mass deportations of illegal immigrants, and demolish foreign drug cartels.
To be honest, now sealing the border, not specifically a fan of like sealing the border. We have a lot of companies and corporations in the United States of America that utilize Mexican labor specifically, right? Like, so when it comes to a lot of the manufacturers, a lot of them are in Mexico. Why? Because it keeps the costs for the most part low compared to what it would actually cost to run it here. That's just economics in a way here, right? Now, the mass deportation of people that have come in illicitly, yes, yeah, fair, absolutely fair. Completely fair, right? Now, the concept of demolishing foreign cartels, again, fair. If we have the ability to stop the proliferation of narcotics in our country, that would be an amazing thing, right? Absolutely. But sealing the border is a little odd because, again, we get a lot of things from Mexico, a lot of things, and we get a lot of things from Canada. So that's just a reality of things. Then there still definitely needs to be legal immigration. That's just we're an immigrant country. So, come on, right? But either way.
We must also reform our broken immigration system. And protect our dreamers and understand we can do both. Create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure. We can do both. And
then why haven't you done anything?
We must do both.
Vice President Kamala.
That's fair, but just why hasn't anything been done? Right? Why now? Is it because November's coming?
Kamala Harris, under President Biden, was assigned to examine the root causes of the border crisis. She promises to reform the immigration system by going after drug cartels and human traffickers. She also supports deploying more detection technology to intercept fentanyl at the border. The northern and southern borders may be many miles from New York City, but it's clear this election, immigration hits close to home. Right. And voters will be weighing how these candidates promise to handle it before casting a ballot in November. Is immigration a voting issue for you? Is it anything you'd consider when going to the polls?
Yes. For her, yes.
Yes.
I think it definitely is the major issue.
And is this an issue that you'll be voting on when you go to the polls in November?
Absolutely.
So as I was saying,
all right, wait.
Traditionally, the issue of immigrations tends to be something that voters in border states focused on. But once migrants started being bused here to New York City, it became a top concern for voters here. And it has remained one, although a number of migrants, of course, has subsided from its peak. But it is still a pretty big issue for New York City voters.
Yeah, no doubt.
When you kind of look at it, you can kind of see Trump is ahead of Kamala in terms of the border. But is she able to creep back up and catch him where he's at, if not beat him?
She has made some headway in recent weeks, and she's trying to cut further into his lead on this issue. Voters think that Trump has a better handle on immigration than she does. Yeah. So she is going to the border of Arizona and Mexico on Friday. As you know, Trump has already been there multiple times.
Okay, guys. All right. Now, will Kamala Harris be able to actually do something or more than just saying something? Potentially, right? I mean, anyone that can do something to stop this absolute craziness is, I would commend them, right? Just completely, just do something to stop this, please. All right. Again, you, random American, go trespass on your neighbor's property and build a tent or something, and say, I have to stay here now. I live here. Go do that. If we can't do it, no one else should be able to. Sorry, bro. All right. I'm not saying that we should be able to do it, but I'm just letting you guys know. You shouldn't just be able to do that. Okay. The rule of law exists in many nations because of this specific thing, I'd say. Right. We need to be able to handle the southern border almost exclusively right now. Now, don't get me wrong. Things are also happening in the northern border. They're realizing that, how about this? Specifically the ones that can afford it, right? They are leaving their country, flying into Canada, and just walking across the border of New York. All right, we did a video pretty recently about that. Almost 100,000 people have come through the northern border instead of going through the southern border because they know it's watched heavily. Right? And in the north, you can look at houses even on like, I don't know, Zillow or Realtor.com, for example. You can look at houses that are on that border that are for sale, and you can see how porous that border is, if that even is that, right? Like you can look at the street view and see instantly that there may just be one rock that says Canada, the US, right? And that there's nothing else there. Because just keep this in mind, you can accidentally end up in the United States of America. Okay, like there are places in the north that are just like that, and people have obviously found this out, and they have been going in and getting buses from the north of New York all the way to Manhattan. Right? It's crazy times, guys. Right? Crazy times. She's trying to figure out exactly why migrants are coming here. That's crazy. You're the government. I think for the most part, it's obvious why they're coming. Right? When you decided to print all of those billions and billions of dollars, right? When you decided to print it out of nowhere, trillions of dollars, actually. Like when you decided to print it, what did you do? There are countries that back their currency off of our currency. And these are places, some places that make roughly $175, specifically Venezuela, right? A month, to let's say $500 something, right? A month. What you did to them when you printed that money is made their currency weaker, right? Weaker. You made it weak, right? So the meager sum that they were accumulating monthly equates to what now? Basically nothing. So like if Americans are suffering under the US dollar currently, imagine what the other countries are. So they realize that and they're just like, wait a second, but I can still go to America, make American dollars, and then I can fund my family through the concept of remittance, right? Where you would send money from the United States of America to another country, right? And then that US dollar is like super strong there, right? So it ends up accumulating and being added to the country's GDP, right? That's what happens, bro. It's the most obvious thing in the world, but for some reason she's acting like she doesn't grasp like world economics, right? But all right, Kamala Harris. Either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, all right? Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.